The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The summer heat hung in the air like a suffocating blanket as Sally Hardesty, her brother Franklin, and their friends Jerry, Kirk, and Pam drove through the rural backroads of Texas. Their van rumbled along the dusty highway, the landscape a blur of withered cornfields and abandoned gas stations. They had come to visit the old Hardesty family homestead after hearing reports of grave robberies at the nearby cemetery where Sally and Franklin's grandfather was buried. "I still don't understand why we had to come all the way out here," Franklin complained from his wheelchair in the back of the van. His sister shot him a sympathetic but exasperated look. "We needed to make sure Grandpa's grave wasn't disturbed," Sally replied, pushing a strand of blonde hair from her face. "It'll just be a quick stop, then we can head to the swimming hole." The radio crackled with static as they passed a slaughterhouse. The pungent smell of blood and decay wafted through the open windows, causing Pam to wrinkle her nose in disgust. "God, that's awful," she said, clinging to Kirk's arm. "Can we stop somewhere soon? I'm getting carsick." Jerry, who was driving, nodded. "There should be a gas station coming up. We're running low anyway." The gas station they found was decrepit and seemingly abandoned. A hand-painted sign reading "Closed" hung crookedly on the door, but a weathered old man sat on a porch across the way, watching them with unnerving intensity. "Y'all ought not go wandering around these parts," he warned as Jerry approached to ask for directions. "Bad things happen to folks who don't belong." They dismissed his warning as the ramblings of a local eccentric. With their gas tank nearly empty and the temperature climbing, they decided to continue toward the Hardesty property, hoping to find help along the way. A few miles down the road, they picked up a hitchhiker, a strange, twitchy young man who spoke in disjointed sentences and showed an uncomfortable fascination with the slaughterhouse where he claimed to have worked. When he suddenly pulled out a razor and cut himself before slicing Franklin's arm, the group panicked and forced him out of the van. "What the hell was that?" Kirk exclaimed, his face pale with shock. "Just some crazy guy," Jerry replied, trying to sound calm despite his racing heart. "Let's just get to the house and figure things out." The Hardesty homestead was abandoned and in disrepair. With their fuel gauge now on empty, Kirk and Pam decided to walk to a house they'd spotted nearby to ask for gas, leaving Sally, Franklin, and Jerry behind. The house Kirk and Pam found stood alone amid a field of sun-scorched grass. It was a two-story farmhouse with peeling paint and boarded windows. Despite its uninviting appearance, they approached, desperate for assistance. No one answered their knocks. Kirk, growing impatient, ventured inside, while Pam waited on the porch. The interior was dark and cluttered with bizarre furniture made of bones and animal hides. As Kirk explored further, he encountered a mountain of a man wearing a mask of human skin. Before he could run, the giant swung a hammer and Kirk collapsed. Pam, concerned by Kirk's prolonged absence, entered the house. She wandered into a room filled with feathers and small animal skulls. Before she could process the horrifying scene, the masked figure appeared, grabbing her and impaling her on a meat hook like a piece of slaughterhouse livestock. Back at the Hardesty house, as the sun began to set, Jerry grew worried about their friend's long absence. He decided to look for them, leaving Sally to care for her increasingly agitated brother. Jerry's search led him to the same farmhouse, where he met the same grisly fate as his friends. As darkness fell, Sally, unable to bear Franklin's complaints any longer, decided they should both go search for the others. They made their way through the woods, Franklin struggling in his wheelchair on the uneven ground. The sound of a chainsaw ripped through the twilight silence. From the shadows emerged the masked figure Leatherface wielding his roaring machine. Franklin had no chance to escape. Sally ran screaming into the night as her brother's cries were cut short by the whirring blade. Blind with terror, Sally stumbled through the darkness until she saw lights from the gas station they'd stopped at earlier. The old man was there, seemingly offering safety. But as he brought her inside, Sally realized with horror that he was part of the same family as her pursuer. The night deteriorated into a nightmare as Sally was brought to the family home, where she discovered the extent of their depravity. A decomposing corpse of an elderly man sat at the head of the dinner table, while the hitchhiker they'd encountered earlier revealed himself as another member of this family of killers. Sally was bound to a chair, tormented as the family's guest of honor at their macabre dinner. The old man, too feeble to kill her himself, allowed the hitchhiker and a third brother to take turns tormenting her. In a moment of desperation, Sally broke free, crashing through a window and fleeing into the pre-dawn light. Leatherface and the hitchhiker pursued her onto the highway. By miraculous fortune, a passing truck struck the hitchhiker, and Sally managed to climb into the bed of another passing pickup truck. As the vehicle sped away, she looked back to see Leatherface in the middle of the road, swinging his chainsaw in a macabre dance of frustration against the rising sun. The truck driver, alarmed by her blood-soaked appearance and hysterical laughter, drove her away from the scene of the massacre, the only survivor of what would become known as one of the most horrifying episodes in Texas history. In the years that followed, Sally would never fully recover from the trauma of that day. The authorities would investigate her claims, but the farmhouse would be found empty. The evidence of the family's atrocities mysteriously vanished. Some would question her sanity, while others would whisper about similar disappearances along that stretch of Texas highway. But those who looked into her eyes could see the truth. Sally Hardesty had gazed into an abyss of human depravity and somehow lived to tell the tale, though the price of her survival was a lifetime haunted by the roar of a chainsaw and the face of a killer hidden behind a mask of human skin.